Next on Binge with Baldrick.
Do you have any idea what the Vietnam War was really like? You will now.
This is Binge with Baldrick, the interesting show for curious minds and hungry hearts. Here now, a guy who's lived his entire life with artificial intelligence, Thomas Baldrick.
Greetings, friends. Much love and gratitude for being here. I am Thomas Baldrick. I woke up today. Life is good. I am Julian Baldrick's dad, and I am in pure awe about today's show. So let's go. As you can tell, if you're watching the video, I am sitting in a car. I'm piggybacking on a place's Wi-Fi. I would not let anything stop me from dropping this special episode in time for Veterans Day 2025. To each and every member of our armed forces, I say thank you for your service. And to all Vietnam veterans, I again say welcome home. Here and now, for the first time, I am not in my home studio, and that is just the tip of the iceberg of challenges. So what? We are here now. And the man being featured deserves every ounce of effort I have in me. Tony Blount was a U.S. Marine who fought in the Vietnam War. He is also a friend and a kindred spirit to me, and a friend and kindred spirit to every one of you who own pets. It is an amazing story of a pet rescuer and pet owner rescuer, but this is also an amazing story of a Vietnam combat veteran. Therefore, I must caution you. Some content is graphic. All of it is real, and parts of it may be really disturbing. However, there are also beautiful benefits, such as gaining intimate knowledge of what this event in real-world history and real U.S. history was like. And perhaps greatest of all, you will have all new or even greater respect for Vietnam veterans. The legendary Sir Winston Churchill said, "When you're going through hell, keep going." I am grateful the man you are about to meet did just that. Somehow, some way, Tony Blount was one of the lucky ones. And I do mean lucky, but that doesn't mean it was easy. Despite being wounded a couple of times, he got home, crossing the boundary of the physical hell of the Vietnam War. But hell hath many hallways, mentally and emotionally, and Tony went down a few of them. I ask you to do yourself a favor. Please keep an open mind and open heart in spending quality time with this good human being who has found wisdom, purpose, giving, and gratitude in creating a heaven on earth, despite the hell he works to keep behind him every day. Thank you, Marine. Thank you, my friend, for doing this. There's one way we could do this where I could say how honored and grateful I am, and there's another way where I could say that and show it. So let's do the latter and show it by starting in an unusual manner, the heaven on earth you're creating today after the hell you've been through. So talk about your love for animals and what you're doing.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so very much. My wife and I are the founders of the Golden Wings mobile pet food pantry. It was actually the week before Christmas of 22. I received a call from a veterinarian shop here in Cheney, Washington, letting me know that a couple who were actually blind and deaf were being evicted. And at that time, the week before Christmas of 2022, the wind chill factor was minus 10 degrees below zero. Thomas, I'm thinking in my mind, there is absolutely no way in this world that I can rescue 9 cats. There's just no way. But before I put the phone down, I said to Victoria, I will rescue those cats. It changed my whole life, changed the whole course and direction of my life, that one phone call. And Today, with the Golden Wings, we are feeding hundreds. We go to the surrounding towns, we go to the food banks, and we donate the food for the cats and the dogs, no charge. When we leave the food banks, the directors love what we're doing, and so they load us up with food. So now this wonderful, phenomenal opportunity has opened up for us. It's called the Little Free Pantries in Spokane. Okay, there's 80 of them. They have little houses with shelves, and they're stocked up with food. But invariably, just like the food banks. When you go to the food banks, there's food for the people, but the dogs and the cats get the short end of the stick. But now, since the people at the food bank that love what we're doing are gifting me all this food, we are, and this has only happened within the last 60 days. Wasn't even cognizant of their existence until a couple of months ago, and then all of a sudden, I'm part of the team. I'm friends and supporters with them. I've gone to their meetings that they've done, and we are blessed to be able to fill many of those little free pantries with not only people food but dog and cat food as well.
If you're a human being and you're under the stress of not having enough to eat,
Yes.
and you've got a companion at home as a dog or a cat, and you can't feed them either, both aspects of this, of what you're doing, are highly valuable and important.
Yes, it is. It's saving people. It's saving people from, many of them, from having to abandon their animals to nature where they're subject to the law of the jungle. Yes, it's very important. And we also, we help with as much as we can with the medical expenses. I have people that every week that are calling me. Some of them living in their cars, crying. They don't have money for the dog food and the cat food. We go and provide for them as much as we can. And the medical expenses, veterinarian expenses, are just through the roof. I mean, through the roof. Yeah. So we help.
Where do
So
we
we
want to
help.
send people to get more information and help if they're so inclined?
Golden Wings Mobile Pet Food Pantry. We have a website that we got, and there's multiple ways that people can make donations, and they are. And my belief, and I have faith in the fact that what we are doing here today will help us to be able to give more, to get more, so we can give more. And I will share this with you that we are all 100% volunteers. I don't make a penny on this. I am doing this as a legacy for myself and my family. I think I shared with you that what a better thing that we have when we leave this temporal reality that we're in, that we leave something behind that is going to continue to help.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And not only do you not make anything from it, but you put money into it.
Body, mind, soul, spirit, pocketbook, all of that. It gives me, which is, as you well know, so important in our lives to have true meaning and purpose.
All right, let's talk about your other love. You mentioned your bride, but Amy was also a veteran. Talk about her, if you would, introduce her, and talk about the message in her
Yes.
honor, in her memory, that you have, not only for veterans, Tony, but for anyone.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much. With our Veterans Day coming out here, I'd just like to share that my most beloved Earth Angel wife, Amy, of 50 years, we were together for 50 years. I was her caregiver for the last couple of years of her life. She was completely bedridden, agony. She was on morphine, had taken morphine for many years. The last couple of years of her life, I changed her fentanyl patch on her shoulder. That happened because of an injury that she suffered while she was in the United States Air Force. She graduated with honors in the Air Force. She had a Mensa level IQ. I was fond of telling that, which is top 2% in the nation. But as I tell everybody, She couldn't have been too smart. She married me.
Point
And
taken.
so, so what happened is because of this injury that she suffered that led to all of this agony and grief, that we filed for a claim to get benefits. And she was denied and denied and denied year after year after year, denied on the claim. And after 10 full years of appealing, she finally went up to 100%. And if that had not happened, we would have not been in the position we would have been living in the woods and destitute because of the expense. It was like at the end of her life. So if we had thrown up our hands and walked away from appealing, we would have been living in the woods. It would have been a tragedy. So my message to the veterans out there is if you have a claim and you are denied, whatever you do, do not throw your hands up and say the hell with it. Appeal, appeal, appeal. You have the right to be able to appeal. Do not walk away from it like so many of them do then and now as well. You get denied, you say the hell with it. Don't appeal. You have the right to appeal. If we had, and we took us 10 years of appeal, and if we had not done that, it would have been devastating. Amy wouldn't have been able to get the care that she was able to get. So I encourage all of the veterans and anyone else out there, appeal.
Wonderful. Amy's proud of you for doing that.
She was my blessing. She is actually, to be honest with you, Thomas, she is the reason that you and I are having this conversation.
All right. So go back to the time when you were a lad. You're a teenager. You're doing dumb stuff like we all did. And you start to hear rumblings with
Yes.
increased American participation in Vietnam.
That's right.
What did you know about Vietnam before Uncle Sam cordially invited you?
Yes. Well, of course, at that time, which was a long time ago now, I was actually working at a cotton mill back in Augusta, Georgia, the King Mill. It was a cotton mill for $1.25 an hour. My first wife at that time got married when I was 17 years old, okay, and to the lovely girl next door. And the war was going on, and my best friend from California, Dennis Michael, was killed in Wave City in 1968 because of my friend who was in the Marine Corps. And I made that decision to go into the Marine Corps at that time.
I heard you say before you were originally drafted for the Army, and
That's
not
correct.
many fellas volunteered for the Marine Corps that day. But in
That's right.
hindsight, so
Yes.
many more Army men were killed than Marines, so that was actually a blessing for you.
Well, it's only by the grace of goodness that I wasn't killed or injured even worse than what I had. You know, I have both my arms, both my legs, so I'm grateful and thankful for that. But God bless all of the men, the young men that were in the Army over in Vietnam were doing the exact same thing, faced with the same situation that the United States Marines were faced with, okay, in the bush, okay. Exact same thing. I have total honor and respect for all of the infantry army that was over there. You see, this is what I've got my shirt on here. It's respect for all of them, all of us that suffered what we had to suffer through in that hell on earth.
Now, at 17 years old, I would venture to say, from my perspective, you weren't prepared to get married. And then at 20 years old, you weren't prepared for combat like you faced. How
That's
much
true.
or how long did you train before you were sent there?
Well, being in South Carolina, I was in Paris Island. Thought I had died and gone to hell, as a matter of fact. So we was in Paris Island, I think something like about 3 months in Paris Island, going through all the training that we in the morning, we get out in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, doing cadence, going, blood and guts, give me some, want some, blood and guts, give me some, just like, yeah, that's what, yeah, so what a transition. Yeah.
Give
Yes.
people an idea of your first day going to Da Nang.
Yes. Thank you for asking that. I flew into the Da Nang airport, commercial airline, and gotten off the plane there in Da Nang, and we're there for about 20 minutes. Okay, just arrived. We come under rocket fire that we come under. And everybody's scurrying, and we all go in. There's about 20 of us jump into this big bunker that we jump into, and I will never forget. It's just like yesterday. There was a young man at the end of the bunker, and he was going like this. He's making the sign of the cross. And I'm thinking to myself, I've only been here 20 minutes, and I got this that's going on and happening, and I'm supposed to be here 13 months. I thought, wow, well, that was my first 20 minutes in Vietnam. Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Talk about your welcome to the jungle.
Yes, thank you very much. We were back in the rear area there, Da Nang, for, I don't know, it would have been 7, 8, 9, 10 days, something like that, getting our weapons and this and that, and getting assigned to the company that were going to be in Alpha, Bravo, or Delta. I was assigned to Delta. Got on the helicopter. They flew us out into the bush, probably about 30 miles outside of Da Nang and An Quang. And I get off of the helicopter, and coming back from patrol is a squad of Marines that are coming back. And there's a young man, and on his helmet, he has scalped. He has scalped a human being, and he's got that scalp that he has on his helmet. And that was my very first day in the bush. And I thought, boy, this is for real. That was my welcome to the jungle, Tony. Here you are. Yeah.
Is that a sign that some guys still functioned, but mentally they snapped?
I have a belief, right or wrong, but my belief is this: that many, if not some, if not many, of the Vietnam veterans that have committed suicide, and there have been over 100,000 that have killed themselves, more than World War II. I would imagine that some of those that killed themselves were the ones that were berserkers, because there were ones over there that went berserk. They got what we call the bloodlust. They got the bloodlust. They just wanted to kill, 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 kill. And I can't help but feel that some of those that had took pleasure in killing and raped women, killed children, which they did, that they would be some of the ones that indeed committed suicide. That's my thoughts about that.
We all have demons, but
Yes.
it sounds to me, just being honest and non-judgmental, that those demons were created in a kill or be killed environment. And while people like me who have never been in that situation can say, oh, you don't know until you've been in that.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
Now, you shocked me by telling me you were ordered to kill a boy, and
Yes, I
you
was.
refused that order.
Yes, I was. And that is one of the things that is, because I was 20, 21 years old when all that was happening. And that stuck with me so much. And that's why that I have a deep hatred for people, men and or women, that are in positions of power and authority and abuse that. We had come into a village, and a sergeant had assigned to me a young boy. He was about 9 or 10 years old, and we were going to take him out of the village. He was going to be. They wanted to interrogate this little boy. Okay, and so when we're going out of the village, this little boy, 8, 9 years old, he's right in front of me. He's right in front of me, and the sergeant orders me. He says, Blount, if we get hit, he says, shoot the kid. Is exactly what he said to me. Shoot the kid. And as we're walking out of the village, we hadn't been out of there 5+ minutes. We come open to this open rice paddy, and I'll be damned, they just open up on us with AK-47 fire, boom, boom. And when this young boy is walking in front of me, I'm saying, there's no way I'm going to kill this boy. I'm not going to kill an unarmed child, which I was ordered to. So what I did is I just fell right down on top of him. He's underneath me. I've got my M16, and I'm firing back at the ones that are firing at us. And I would imagine that if that young boy, now he'd be in his 50s now, maybe 60s, would have never forgotten that incident, because I surely have.
What the North Vietnamese did was also tragic and brutal, and that, as I understand, they threatened families to give up their children, give up their young men, or they would kill the whole family. And so you were at times fighting against 9, 10, 11-year-olds who were armed.
True. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. But that's a different story. If you're shooting at a child, that is shooting at you, trying to kill you. Then it becomes life or death. But when you have an unarmed little boy, young boy that's walking in front of you, and I'm not going to shoot him and kill him, even though I was ordered to.
So in the moments you're not in combat, you were always juggling either adrenaline or exhaustion. How did you juggle the two of those?
I've never particularly thought about that. But you're right. It would be lots of times it would just be doldrums. You'd be just like sitting around. Everything's just fine, and you're bored and blah blah blah. But then all of a sudden you got AK-47 fire that's coming down on you, and the Vietnamese Viet Cong NVA, they had lots of ammunition from China. Okay, they got a lot of their ammunition from China, and China had these tracer rounds that were very, very colorful. So you'd be just sitting around, everything's fine, and then they open up on you. You got these blue, green, red, just tracer rounds coming at you. Our tracer rounds we had was only one color, like an orange. But when they open up on, it went from calm to anarchy and chaos. So it does, it has a tremendous effect on your psyche.
One day had to feel like an eternity, didn't it?
We didn't have smartphones with the dates and everything, and we didn't have calendars that we have. And so basically, a lot of times the only times when we knew it was Sunday was when the naval corpsman would come and give you a morphine tablet. Yeah, so we knew it was Sunday.
You had people from all different backgrounds, all scared to death. How did you all get along?
For the most part, we got along real well because our lives depended upon it. Sometimes, I remember one time, it was at nighttime, and we were all laying around, and this corporal comes up. I was with my friend Joey Clapp out of New York. We had gone to Paris Island together, and this corporal comes by, and he kicks Joey on the bottom of his foot, saying, saddle up. And when it was time to leave, when it was time to go walking, it's called saddled up. You saddled up. So he kicks Joey in the bottom of the foot, barking, saddled up. I jumped up, boom, popped right in the nose. Oh yeah. So a lot of times we didn't get along with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But most of the time we did. But when you do something when you do something stupid, you're gonna pay.
How constant was the fear?
Knowing that any moment that you could get your brains blown out or step on a 155 artillery round like I almost did, missing by only a half an inch. That's always on your mind because, like I was saying a little while ago, everything could be calm, everything was fine, and then all of a sudden, all that breaks out. You got people next to you getting killed and that sort of thing. So yeah,
You didn't have hand-to-hand combat. You
no,
didn't
that's right.
know if you killed anyone,
That's right.
but that really doesn't matter. Like, I think people that focus on that are missing the point. What you saw and what you experienced is enough trauma for 1,000 lifetimes.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Yeah.
What images or thoughts or memories stick with you?
There are many, many of them. As you know, even as nightmarish as they were, like the Viet Cong that got run over by a tank and you can only discern a thumb as being human. Believe it or not, it was even worse than that. It was 3 days before I left the country. We came under attack, and a Marine was hit actually by a rocket, and he was blown into a thousand different pieces. And I actually had a picture. I actually had a picture of it hit a tent because it was in the rear area. It's getting ready to get out of there. They were 3 days late. I should have already gone out of country 3 days before this happened. But this Marine took this hit on him with a rocket, and there blew up this tent. And in this tent, there was a refrigerator, and he had all his intestines that were draped on the Marine and draped on the refrigerator. And there was this other Marine that had this little container thing that was washing down the intestines of this Marine to put them in manila envelopes. And that's how him and others that got blown to pieces were sent home.
Now, you called yourself a grunt in the role of a rifleman. You were in harm's way all the time. Like
Yes,
in the jungle, every step you took could be your last,
that's right.
from not only enemy fire, but booby traps and hand grenades. And then you were out in the open fields
Uh,
where you're literally between your guys behind you and the enemy
yeah,
in front of you. It's a
that's right.
miracle that you're still here.
Yes, it is. Very, very much so. Very much so.
What were those moments like in the open field?
The scariest times for the Marines and also the Army grunts out there will tell you, the Army grunts will tell you the same thing. When they were on those dikes walking through the rice paddies, they knew damn well that they were completely and totally vulnerable. All right. So one day, I find myself walking across the rice paddy, and we come under enemy fire, and I throw myself down into the rice paddy in the water and in the mud, and the bullets just all flying all around for sure. And I looked up at the sky, and it was this beautiful blue. And I said to myself, and I said to God, "Thank you God, for not be dead." And then I looked down in the water, mud. I said, "Well, it ain't over yet." So
You couldn't in moments like that, but did you guys think about why am I here? What am I doing here? And was there any talk of politics, either pro or con, with the government that sent you there?
after being drafted, my incentive was I was angry because my best friend, very best friend, had been killed, and I wanted revenge. It was a immature at that, but very powerful kind of thought that I had in my mind. But what was really devastating for us was their when I remember when it was I believe it was Nixon. I could be wrong, but I think it was Nixon that had it where they stopped firing there on not bombing North Vietnam, so the trails for the Viet Cong and NVA to come down was wide open. So we thought to ourselves, well, that doesn't make good sense for us that they've opened up. They're not bombing the trails that they're coming down. They're still coming down. So there was a, yeah, that was disconcerting to say the least.
Obviously, you had tremendous firepower for those days. Did the U.S. underestimate the resources that the North Vietnamese had, not only in terms of support from China and Russia, but in terms of knowing the terrain? In modern days, you could compare it to Afghanistan, where they already had bunkers, they had tunnels, they had whatever, and they knew the land. You were strangers.
That's exactly correct. So basically, the Vietnamese, Viet Cong, NVA would do the same thing that our patriots of our country did when we were at war with Britain. It was hit and run, you know. It wasn't where you just amassed 50,000 on this side and 50,000 on that side and just started killing each other. You know, it was hit and run. And that's what the Viet Cong and NVA primarily did to us, not unless they decided to make the decision that they were going to completely and totally overrun you. And that was a different story. But mostly it was hidden because they knew full well that when they engaged you in small arms fire, that it wasn't going to be very long before they're going to be called out. That we would be called in the air power. They get bombed and napalm coming down on them. So it was basically hit and run, yeah, just like our patriots did in our Revolutionary War.
Now, your revenge mindset that you had going there, how long did that stay with you, or is that still with you today?
No, it's not. No, it's not still with me today. You know, it's just like I feel that the when I was there and they were trying to kill me, I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. They'll have no, you know, negative feelings towards that at all. At all. You know, but what for me is really bizarre, okay, is the fact that maybe it must have been maybe 25 years ago, something like that. I bought a hat that I bought. And then I take off the hat and I look inside and it's got in there made in Vietnam. And I thought, my God, how bizarre that we're go through this years and years of killing one another. And now we're buying their hats and, you know, we're in trade with them. And I have, for years, I went to the Vietnam combat group of men that have done all that. And I asked them, I would always ask them, what was gained? What was gained through that 10 years that we were all there? And the answer is always the same. Nothing was gained. Everything was in vain. All the death that was suffered there, all the hundreds of thousands that have killed themselves, just evidence of how in vain all of that. And and just as today as we speak today, human beings killing one another all over the world right now. That the hope is that one day that we will be able to honestly ascend to the higher nature of our angels and just stop killing one another. You know.
Now, I love the United States of America. I feel blessed every day to live here. But
Yes. So
I have to admit, one of the things that gets my Irish up, my Irish heritage, is you briefly mentioned napalm. And
yeah.
not only were the Vietnamese exposed to that, but our boys were too. And
Yes.
That gets me that you didn't even have masks. You didn't have warnings. You didn't have protection. And we know the effects of Agent Orange have been widespread.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. Unfortunately, all three of my children were affected by that Agent Orange, which was a chemical from hell. It went into, like many Vietnam veterans, their children were negatively affected by Agent Orange as well. My one daughter was deaf in one ear, the left ear, which is indicative of Agent Orange negative effects. That chemical gets down into your chromosomes, deep into your body. And I was out there sleeping in the jungle, and it certainly was, you know, influenced, yeah, by that.
Let's move forward to you getting wounded.
I was wounded a couple of different times. I got pieces of shrapnel that went through my stomach, and I still have issues today with my stomach. I was in had a cerebral concussion that I had. But compared to many of the ones over there, I was at both my arms, both my legs, and I'm grateful and thankful for that. It's only by the grace of goodness that I came in, and at the age of 77, that I have the mobility that I have. Actually, I'm not a real big guy. When I'm 77 now. When I was 65 years old, I could still bench press a little over 300 pounds. But then I got a bone spur that came up on my shoulder up here. And the next thing I had to take my left hand to hold up my right hand to brush my teeth and to button my buttons. It's come back a great deal, but I'm not bench pressing 300 pounds anymore.
Was in some ways getting wounded welcomed? It sounds strange to ask, but it got you away from the front line.
That's true. That's true. And found out indeed how good that they had it back there. The first time I got wounded and got medevac into Da Nang, I thought I had, well, all the Marines are back there, and I thought I had really gone to heaven because they had outdoor beer gardens. They had one thing. They had women that they had as well, and hot meals, free hot meals every day. We in the bush, we were eating out of the tin cans. They didn't have the sea rats like they do today. It was all tin cans for us. So it was quite interesting. When I'm back there, we get to Da Nang, I'm going, my God, what did I do? What did I do? If I had scored a little higher on my test, I could have been in a little better position. But I had grunt written all.
So, how did you wind up coming home?
When I had been wounded for the last time over in Vietnam, I was because I was there for 7 months out in the bush. And at that time, you had a Marine Corps company, had about 130, 150 men at any particular time. I had been there for 7 months before I got out of there, and there was basically only a handful that had been there longer than 7 months. This was 1968, 69, when the shit was really hitting the fan. And most of the young men that, that came into Delta Company in 68, 69, they were usually only there for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months before they were either killed or some of them I've seen once a Marine just coming out of the helicopter coming into the bush for the first day and shot in the head and killed. I mean, it was really we had the largest amount of military in 68, 69 than any other time. So it was really hot and heavy at that time. Yeah.
Now, your life expectancy was so short
Yes, it was.
that I know it's a joke, but it's serious, that the nickname you guys had was Dying Delta.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, that was a nickname that we had for ourselves, a die in Delta, and unfortunately, a lot did. But yes, I was blessed not to be one of them.
What was your reception coming home?
Well, I have to be, I'm going to, as always, here honest and truthful. My reception, when I left Vietnam, I went was because I had to finish out the third. Marines had 13 months of overseas duty that they had, so I finished out my duty in Hawaii. And when I got to Hawaii, I thought, well, this is a lot better. And I'll share this one little experience over there. I'm walking down the streets. I'm 21 years old. I've been in the jungle for some time. And there's two lovely young ladies walking on the other side of the street in their bikinis, and I'm smiling and waving. And then next thing I know, I ran right into a telephone pole. So when I flew back in home, I landed at Travis Air Force Base right outside of San Francisco. And of course, you had a lot of, at that time, protesters and everything that were happening. But to be honest with you, my homecoming was the first day that I got back was actually wonderful. I had my family that was waiting for me. They had banners there for me. Welcome home, Tony. My mother had at that time owned a restaurant there in Vacaville, California, which is in the Bay Area. I had a wonderful prime rib dinner that my mother had made for me. It was October the 3rd of 69 that I came back home. That was my most beloved sister's birthday. So we celebrated my homecoming. And uh, so my homecoming there was very nice. I didn't have, luckily for any of the protesters, luckily for them, they did not spit on me, because if they had spit on me, I would have spit right back. Decades later, perspective is I understand that. I respect that. And honestly, with the feeling that I have that all of the loss of life and limb in Vietnam was basically all in vain and no gain. My true belief is now that if I knew then what I know now, I would have either gone to Canada or I would have gone to one or the other. I would have not. It was a different story. Like in World War II when we were attacked, that's a different story altogether. Then I would have been all in. I wouldn't have had any reservations. I wouldn't have any thought. I'm all about, well, I'm not doing this. But this is how I feel now. But back then, decades ago, with my best friend being killed. And I had been drafted, and so away. That was my life experience. But I wouldn't do it. Not do it today. And I would imagine that many Vietnam veterans would tell you the same thing.
Tony, in those days, whether you were a protester or a supporter, you had absolutely no idea what you had gone through. And inside, you're dealing with PTSD, and there was no such thing as PTSD then. What was
Yes.
that like?
When you are psychologically, traumatized by all of the nightmarish hell that happens in a war, it's devastating. It's something that never leaves you. Many of the Vietnam veterans that have killed themselves were indeed corpsmen, because in my mind, corpsmen have a more of a nurturing sensitivity than a lot of us, and because of that sensitivity, they are even more deeply affected by it. I've known many naval corpsmen that were attached to the Marines or the Army that suffer just from post-traumatic stress disorder, like horrifying. And I'll share this with you that I'm fortunate that the only medication that I take is for high blood pressure. Okay. Many of the Vietnam veterans, in particular, and the other ones now from Iraq and Iran as well, the VA and the doctors, what they'll do is they'll get you prescribe you to many different psychotropic drugs, okay? And you take one of those psychotropic drugs for PTSD and it works for this, but then it spawns something else. So then you get another psychotropic drug that leads to another one. So we have many of the returning veterans then and now are on sometimes half a dozen plus different psychotropic drugs. And they get to the point they don't even know if they're coming or going and they're suffering. So all of that trauma that was suffered by us, went through that, continues to carry on. Yeah.
What do you want people to know? Whether it's the people who were protesters, whether it's the people who were just uninformed and uninterested, or whether it's the younger people. And by younger, that could be anybody, 40 or 50 and down to 7 years old. What do you want them to know from this experience, from this war?
That the best thing about war is not to wage it. Try to rise above it. Ascend to the higher nature of your angels of kindness, of generosity, of giving. And if you, in my experience now today, if you're interested in living abundantly, give abundantly. I find myself now in what I'm involved in with the pets and the people, that the more that I open and give and give and give, the more that I receive and receive and receive. I have been blessed to become an open channel for all of that. So yeah, I find it quite amazing, actually. Yeah.
Can you imagine you're saying that after all you've been through? To me, it's marvelous. You're a bigger, stronger, better man than I. I like being kind, but I haven't been through a fraction of what you've been through. I think my life has been extremely difficult, but still it's a mere fraction of yours. And the fact that you are who you are now, doing what you're doing now,
Yes,
is an incredible accomplishment. Do you realize that?
well, I appreciate, Thomas. I appreciate you saying that, and it's certainly certainly the fact and the truth. And also, what is the fact and the truth is when I got back from Vietnam in 1969. I shared with you at the beginning of this that I had been married when I got married when I was 17. And when I came back home, the only thing the thing that was paramount in my mind is I wanted to be back with the lady that I was married to and had been married to for 3 months. That's all. I wanted to be back and be with my wife and get a job and this and that. But I had only been back 1 month from Vietnam and had this wonderful homecoming. My wife told me she was there, and but 1 month after I was back home, she had decided that she did not want to be married any longer, and then made the decision just to leave. And indeed, that was psychologically devastating. I mean, tragic. Oh God, and the heartbreak, the agony. They what I wanted to be with her when I came back, and then to have her just boom. And that was 1969. And then I wound up living in the. So the next thing I know, lots and lots and lots of drink alcohol, smoking lots of pot. to fill that void. But one of the things that I have found in this life, that the things that are tragic and negative that happen to you, indeed can make you stronger, and that is it's done. It has happened to me. I've been able to take tragedies and make them stronger. But when I got into it, I became alcoholic, and I was 42 years old when I washed up the shores of Alcoholics Anonymous. The seventh day this month, October of 1990, was when I had my last drink of alcohol. That was 35 years. I have gone 35 years without one single drink of alcohol. And after 35 years of not one drink, I am one drink of alcohol away from total and complete destruction. I would be so ashamed of myself. My father was a practicing alcoholic and was stabbed under death by his third wife when he was 45 years old. So alcoholism has a tendency to, from what I understand, run into as well. So I'm blessed to not having to drink.
I wasn't going to bring that up out of the respect I have for you, but you had no shot, Tony. You were predisposed in your DNA. You had been
Yeah,
through trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma, and
yeah.
then you come home and your complete life is turned upside down.
Oh
That
yeah,
makes you human to me. I can see that with common sense and compassion. What you put yourself through just makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. That's a fact. Yeah.
With such happiness, with
Yes, that's
such a
true.
sense of building a legacy,
Yes.
you can't help but know this is a feel. In the end, after all we've discussed, you're a feel good story. You're the comeback kid.
Well, my like I said, I honestly, you know what? Before we had this interview, what I had just done, and I pretty much I do it pretty much every day. I love to dance. Okay, free expression. So I was out in my garage and I was dancing some Billy Joel. We didn't start the fire, you know. And so yeah, I love to dance. I love to sing. It's good. You dance and sing. I do often. It's good. It's good for our spirits. It really is, and it's good cardiovascular. Yeah.
Let's include one more thing
Yes,
in
sir.
terms of putting a smile on people's faces. Talk about how you became a clown of all things after coming home from the Vietnam War.
Well, after I had just gotten out of Vietnam and then in the Bay Area, my mother loved to entertain, and she had a nice dinner that she had there at her home there in Vacaville. And she had one of the guests that she invited was actually a colonel in the Air Force, and he was an amateur magician. And after dinner, he did some magic that he did for us. And he comes up to me with a deck of cards and he spreads it out and he says, "Tony, go ahead and pick a card." I pick a card and it's the King of Diamonds. Okay. And I pick it out of the deck. I have it in my hand just like this, King of Diamonds. And then he tells me, "Tony, put it under your foot." I took it and I put it under my foot, put my foot there, never lifted it, went from my hand to under my foot. I put my foot on top of it. He goes around and he does coin tricks and this, and he comes back and he says, "Tony, I see you like the ladies. You have the Queen of Heart under your foot." I'm thinking to myself, "No, I don't. That's a king." I lifted up my foot, picked up the card, and it just changed. I was hooked. I'm really hooked. So he took me under his wing and he showed me a few things, magic, and then the next thing I know, I was performing, doing magic shows there in animals, rabbits and doves, and that sort of thing. That was my introduction to that. And then we got into the clown thing. Had audition for that. That was for Ronald McDonald. So that we were paying 1980 $40 an hour at that time, which was real good.
Do
Yeah.
you think your work as a clown, your work with dogs and cats, your work with people who are pet owners who are struggling, do you think in some way this is you working to rescue all those guys you served with that you couldn't rescue?
I could look at that. I could look at that, and I could feel that way about that. And in particular, now it gives me that joy and purpose and meaning that I have, which makes me more useful, being of service. I found that being of service unto others is like for me. It's working like this. It's the more you serve, the more you become served, as evidenced by this wonderful, conversation that we're having. Of course, when I found the different individuals over the years that you have done the same thing with, interviewed people known around the world, very humbling for me and inspirational for me. Oh, hey, Tony, you're on the right path. Uh,
Indeed, you are. I can admit to you, after we scheduled this, I was so anxious about it, so nervous about it. I kept hiding behind the fact that I've had a busy week. And it was
yes,
only until last night when
yeah,
I sent you that late email that it was like, I have to face this. I have to deal with this because for me, as the father of a new airman who's not in
that's right.
combat, who's not in
That's
harm's
right.
way, it took my view of the veterans to a much deeper place. And I have the utmost indescribable gratitude and respect and admiration for you.
Well, I have a great deal of admiration for you as well, for all the good that you are doing, and you being in a position now, because my focus now is on the Golden Wings, and being able to increase the orbit of good influence that we have. We're in like three different counties that we go to, and I have, at the beginning of this year, I was able to put together with our local Girl Scouts, our local Boy Scouts, and our Veterans of Foreign War Post a pet food drive that we did, and we raised 2,470 pounds of dog and cat food. And it was the first time that the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts had worked in conjunction with each other. I have Girl Scout leaders that come to my monthly meeting that we have for the Golden Wings, and we've got all sorts of wonderful things planned for the future to be able to receive more so we can give. Yeah.
I look forward to seeing what we can create with that. But for now, I thank you, Marine. I thank
Yeah.
you, my friend. I wish you, if there is such a thing as a peaceful Veterans Day, and
Yes.
may this help to bring you all the riches you deserve.
Well, thank you very much, Thomas. It's really been my real joy and a wonderful, like you saw in my YouTube video when I was in the hospital in Da Nang. I had Jimmy Stewart and his wife that came through and had a chance to meet him. And I just kind of felt the same way in meeting someone that has the wonderful positive influence that life and God and life, one and the same in my mind, has put you in the position to be in. So in all of the help that we can get, we need all the help we can get.
There's a good reason you're in the Angels group.
Yeah, hey, look, I'm the number one angel. I'm the number one angel, the number one fallen angel. Okay.
I'm Thomas Baldrick. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of this special Veterans Day salute to a Vietnam veteran and friend, Tony Blount. So if you are a military member or have a loved one who is, I invite you to share this episode with others. I also invite you to subscribe to Binge with Baldrick. Same if you are an owner or lover of dogs and cats. Let's see if we can't come together and help Tony in his mission, in his legacy, and to keep his heaven on earth going despite the hell he's been through. Thank you very much. Godspeed. Until next time, go birds.